Welcome to all the viewers and listeners of that's following Simon while he's in Russia. We're doing another Letters from Russia live, and yeah, welcome again, Simon, to your it's basically your own program that I help facilitate, and but always lekker or nice to see you and to have a live chat with you about what's going on there.
Yeah, and sometimes the letters from Russia just work better in conversation.
Yeah.
I recorded what we're going to discuss yesterday for Arnold to produce, and it just the tone of it was slightly off. And so I said to him this morning, don't package it, don't produce it, don't do your thing. Rather, let me have a conversation with Marius. I think the dialogue will work a bit better.
Yeah. So on that note, what I've gathered is you've got basically another complaint about Russia. Uh,
Yeah.
the many that you had the last time. Yeah, and if you as the viewer haven't watched the last video, go back to that complaints video, go watch it, and that's why it's tongue in the cheek when I say the many that Simon had.
Yeah, no. I'm looking at my complaints here. I've been making a list, and the first one was obtaining the telephone. That was, that's worth complaining about, but it's understandable. It's because of the terrorist attacks by the Central Asians, by remote control, the assassination of the chemical, nuclear, and biological, the general head of that military force, and the assassination of, is it now 4 weeks ago, again by remote control through telephones. So that wasn't really a complaint. It was just a bit of a whine, and too much walking, killing my legs. On that note, Marius, I haven't told you, but I think, was it not yesterday was train, day before was train. So the previous day, I went to visit the cathedral. I don't know, has Arnold used that material? As you know, I don't like to watch. Uh,
Um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he has or hasn't. Um,
uh,
yeah.
okay. Anyway, that'll be coming out. The cathedral visit was absolutely spectacular, um, and I walked. The guy who hosted me had one of those apps, and we walked 14 kilometers. So I'm getting fit whether I like it or not. But Russians take pride in the fact that they walk, in spite of the fact that they've got an unbelievable public transport system. It's incredible. Yeah, aspartame in the Coke Zero. That was quite an eye opener. They just put in so much aspartame that you get stiff limbs, stiff joints. And of course, the Central Asians crooking me at the hotel. Central Asians on the electric food delivery. Just see. Um, the Yeah. So now we get on to today's one. Yesterday, I had an incident, and it was not a nice incident on the train. The day before yesterday, I got on the big train from Moscow to Arkhangelsk. I'm in the Meridian Hotel, coming to you from the Meridian Hotel, which I am told is told by somebody, a local guy. He lives, in fact, 3 doors down from the hotel. He said, I'm not sure, but I believe that it's owned by the Great Northern Shipping Fleet. So sailors, I suppose, stay here from time to time in between voyages into the Arctic Sea to catch, I don't know, halibut or whatever. And to get here, I caught a train, and about 40 minutes into the journey, I wrote in Google Translate on my phone for the benefit of the conductress. I'm here in Russia on invitation to make videos about Russia. I would like to do some work. may I go and sit in the restaurant car? Simple enough request, but I didn't want to be the kind of ignorant Westerner who, gets onto a train and he's supposed to be in a berth. 40 minutes into the journey, Harry is marching up and down doing his own thing. Excuse me while I pour some water. I've got a croaky throat this morning. So she was very, very helpful. She marched me down to the restaurant car. She gave the man behind, I suppose in Soviet days, it was like a bar. Now it's a snack bar. To give me every help, she gave him a big sermon. And he was also extremely helpful. And I sat there and I did a whole bunch of work. And then we got to a stop and it was just exactly midnight. And I had done enough. And so I got off and I walked up the platform and got on from the outside into my correct compartment. And as I passed the conductress, I saw that her whole attitude toward me had changed. And I thought, oh, well, I don't know what I've done. So I got into bed, slept, woke up early, fresh and eager, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And I started recording videos of through the windows of the carriage. And I, at some point, went to the segment between two compartments, between two carriages, where they join one another. There's that joint, and it's covered. So you can stand there and look out, it has doors. That's where the people come into the train. You walk up into that intermediate compartment, booth or whatever you call it, and then turn left or right. And excuse me, I was standing there filming through the door, the window of the door. And another second conductress came and she gave me stick. I didn't understand a word, but clearly I was doing wrong. So I, put my phone down, pressed stop, picked up my bag with all the, stuff that goes with the phone. I bought some microphones, which as it turns out, don't blooming fit the phone. And as I was doing that, as I was being contrite, I'm sorry. Don't know what I've done wrong, but okay, fine. This is your place, not mine. I'll just say yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. She started gesturing that up ahead, police, policia, with reference to me. It was clearly you and the police, and they're up ahead. So that was unnerving. And I went and sat down, and then I made a friend, a guy called Ramon. Ramon, if you ever watch this video, again, I say thank you for the conversation and the general, just the meeting yesterday was terrific. And Ramon and I were doing our thing, and then a third conductress came past us with a man who Ramon told me was I forget the exact title, but sort of the general manager of the train. And he had a bit of a holding, not a bit of an attitude in English. It wasn't arrogant or anything like that, but clearly, he didn't underestimate his own importance. And he very pertinently asked the people around me, it's cramped. Is everything okay? And everybody said, yeah, it's great. All good. And he marched to the end of the compartment and then back. And I thought he was doing a general inspection of the train. Sometime later, the same thing again. This woman and this guy, and this woman stopped next to me and said, Mr. Simon John. And she said something which I didn't understand. So Ramon translated. He said, she wants you to verify that those details are correct. I said, yes, I'm in berth 12 and Simon Juan is my name. And yeah, she was showing, sorry, just to be clear, she was showing me on a telephone a bunch of information on a screen. They leave. Next thing, this guy comes back and he says, Mr. Simon John, come with me, please. I put my shoes on, I followed him, and he wasn't, excuse my language, he wasn't an asshole about it, but he was firm, absolutely firm. You have been filming on the train. It is forbidden. You must immediately delete all of the film files, and you will be attended by the police when we get to Arkhangelsk. I said to him, absolutely, no problem at all. I will do as you say. You don't have to ask twice. But, and he said, no speak, no talk, nothing. I said, okay, fine. I'll do it. But, and again, he cut me short. And you know, I've got this voice. I didn't shout. I didn't even raise my voice, but I just changed the timbre of it so that without raising my voice, I could be heard by the train driver and the very last person at the back. Kept my voice exactly the same, but changed the timbre so that it would go through 100 foot of solid oak wood. And I said to him very firmly, you have my absolute cooperation, but hear me and hear me well. I want it recorded that yesterday when I got on the train, I politely wrote a message to your conductress. I told her what I do for work. I told her that I'd been invited to Russia by the government, not the government as such, it was a member of parliament, and then 2 other invitations from like kind of semi whatever. But the easiest way to say it is the government, the parliament. The parliament is an arm of the government. So a parliamentarian invited me in writing to produce YouTube videos of Russia. May I do that work? Can I go to the restaurant and do that? So to me, it was very clear that I am going to be filming on your train. And he looked at me and he said, tell me, what does your government think about Russia? I said, well, the South African government is in BRICS. He said, friendly. I said, no, not friendly. I said, like a marriage, husband and wife, a wedding. That is BRICS. It's more than friends. It's a very serious thing for the future of the world. He said to me, and things ended quite amicably. But I left that conversation knowing, as it were, that I was going to be arrested or apprehended or at least confronted by the police in Arkhangelsk. Now, given that I'm a foreigner, and given that filming could be construed as more than, by the way, if you film out the window of a train driving through the taiga, the forests, all you're filming is 100 billion trees. That's it. There is nothing else. There's the occasional tiny train station. There's some big towns, but I wasn't really filming. And there's some dilapidated villages. There is nothing else to film. It's not like we drove past a nuclear facility and I was trying to get all angles. I was just sticking the phone up against the glass and telling narrative, tales, narrating. I might as well have just done voice notes for Arnold. It's just literally thousands of millions of trees. nevertheless, being a foreigner and videotaping Russia could be construed as maybe, you know, misbehavior of a difference, something more than just,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to use cameras on trains for some reason that nobody knows, something more than that. So in my mind, logic tells you that it's not going to be the local sergeant. It's going to be the SVR. It's going to be the Russian Internal Intelligence Service, or the FSB, the successors to the KGB, the External Intelligence Service, given that I'm a foreigner. It shouldn't be the FSB, it should be the SVR, if my understanding of their functions is correct. But it's not going to be the police, because that's just dumb. If I was Mr. Plod, the policeman, and I received a call to say, there's a foreigner been filming strategic reserves of birch trees out of the train, I would immediately, I'd say, yeah, okay, whatever, put the phone down, and I'd phone the SVR and say, we've just received a report of some guy doing illicit filming, and he's a foreigner. That's clearly not littering or pickpocketing or spousal abuse on a drunken Friday night. That's your baby, not ours. So in my mind, I was going to get to Arkhangelsk, and I was going to be taken away by flipping Russian intelligence services. For 4 hours, Marius, I cannot tell you how traumatized I was. And I kept my cool quite well. Roman was teasing me about it. He thought it was funny. He said, oh, you're doing very well. He said, you don't look worried. I said to him, Roman, I'm at the end. I've got no nerves left to give.
Yeah.
He just laughed. He said, no, you're doing fine. So we got to to Arkhangelsk. And I thought to me, by then I'd been thinking about it, and I thought, I don't want to look like I'm covering my backside. But I want to, no matter what happens now, I'm about to get off, I'm going to get carted off, because I've been told that. And logic tells you they're not going to send Mr. Plot, not for a foreigner, and not for that offense. I thought to myself, though, these people are just doing their jobs. This is a society at war. And here's a foreigner, you know, filming space shuttle launches from from within the fir trees. And so I thought, you know what, just be a decent human being. Everybody treats you so well here. And just be nice to the conductresses. So the second conductress, the first conductress disappeared totally. And I kind of bumped into her. I opened the wrong door, thinking it was a toilet. And the second conductress was in there, and she had like taken off her uniform, and she was wearing a different outfit. And the first conductress, the one who took me to the restaurant, the one for whom I wrote the Google Translate thing. So I don't know whether they kicked her off duty or whatever, and that's why there was a new conductress. But anyway, the third conductress, who's now by then taken over our compartment, or took it over shortly after. Sorry, this is all a bit bewildering. I apologize to the audience. And the second conductress, the one who shouted at me, were standing together at the exit. And I went to them and I said, Spasiba Bolshoi. Spasiba Bolshoi, which means great, thank you. Thank you very much. And they looked at me as if that's unnatural behavior. Like, you know. They were really uncomfortable, not in a bad way. They just clearly didn't expect me to be gracious. But I thought that was the least I could do. all they were doing was zealously protecting the interests of their state. That's all.
Yeah.
By that time, I'd kind of rationalized that, you know. And I walked off, and there was no SVR. So I was with Ramon, and he said, "Would you like to have a cigarette?" And I thought, yeah. I thought, let it not be that these guys are on their way. They were delayed by traffic or something. And then it's a fugitive story, you know, flight from the scene or whatever. Let me linger here for 10 minutes and make myself available for arrest rather than make matters worse. So we lingered there on the platform. Nobody came. Some police came past and they checked other people's documents. And I like stood there, you know, so that nobody could say, oh, he turned his back. He was hiding behind the pot plant. You know, the foliage of the tree wrapped around his head to evade observation. I thought, I'm going to handle this like a man. So I stood there, you know, police didn't come to me. We got on the bus, came to the hotel. I've been here overnight. It's now 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning, Russia time. And it obviously turned into a non-event. But that's my complaint. That's today's whinge.
Yeah. So Simon, as this experience that you've had now on the train that wasn't as nice as some of the other experiences that you've had, has this changed your total perspective about Russia, or how do you feel about Russia now?
You say it wasn't nice. It was terrifying.
Yeah, I can I can imagine. Yeah.
But no, ironically, I mean, people might think I sound like a crazy man. It hasn't, because as much as it was terrifying and as much as they were solidly in the wrong, because I explained who I was and I asked permission, they were just getting carried away. That's all. It's probably completely alien to them that some Westerner should come on their train and do 240 minutes of filming, and they just got insecure. And they're minor state employees. They're not, you know, they're air hostesses, as it were, on a train. They're the train equivalent of working 30 hours with 30 different burst varicose veins in each leg, up and down, cleaning toilets, pandering to passengers' whims. So to answer your question, no, it hasn't changed it at all. It was just I shouldn't even say complaint. I should say it's just a whinge, because it was, geez, like, it was a bit scary, because they promised me. The guy didn't retract that thing off. The police have been notified and they are waiting for you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a very bright spark to figure out, well, it's not going to be Mr. Plod, is it? I'm a flipping foreigner accused of not littering or getting involved in a bar fight. So, yeah. But Marius, no, it hasn't changed. Russia, look, let me put it to you this way. I'm staying in an old Soviet hotel. The balcony is literally crumbling. It's very, very simple. But if you like simplicity, and I have my whole life long, and the service is good, and the people are nice and friendly, it's like being a pig in clover, in a field of clover plants. Russia is a very, very nice place with nice people doing nice things in nice ways for nice reasons. It is a very flourishing society. As I've told you before, last year, February, the World Bank released a report on Russia in which they revealed that the Russian economy had leapfrogged to $6 trillion. It is now the fourth largest economy in the world, but they said we can speak for $6 trillion worth of economy. We believe that we're unable to observe another 40 to 60%, or actually the words were 40 to 60% of the economy. The arithmetic tells you that they're saying the economy is actually well over $8 trillion, approaching $9 trillion conservatively. But we don't want to talk about it because we can't point to what it is.
Yeah.
But we can see that within this machine, there are certain functions occurring that require other cogs and other wheels and other grease and other gauges and monitors and switches and what have you for all of this to happen. So it's there. We just don't want to speak on its behalf because we can't see it. This is a fantastically flourishing place where the people are also hell of a nice and helpful and kind and sincere. Marius, the similarity between Russians and white South Africans is quite remarkable, particularly rural white South Africans, and I would say more particularly Afrikaners.
Yeah.
The similarity is very, very, very great. So yeah, it hasn't changed my perspective. It was just a terrifying experience, that's all.
Yeah, I've been sitting here and thinking of what if in your own country, if the viewer is now Australian, USA, it doesn't matter. If you're a South African watching this, imagine somebody telling you on a train or a plane or a bus, listen here, that guy has done something suspicious. Then it's a natural human behavior for everybody to already look at him through that filter of suspicion. So, I mean, that is basically what has happened with you on the train. And I mean, Russia is at war with Ukraine, so some people might be a bit more jittery than other people. And if somebody labels you suspicious, then all the other people will already look at you like, hey, this guy, maybe he is suspicious. Maybe he's doing something that we don't like. And yeah, but I'm glad you you didn't get arrested or detained or whatever, and that you are safe and sound, and that we can carry on with our chats.
Yeah, no, I'm well, thanks. I got a sketchy night's sleep because the sun sets at 10:15, or it did last night, at 15 minutes past 10, and it rose this morning at 19 minutes past 2. And the curtains in my room are not particularly thick, so it's very light. But that's about as, you know, it's about as bad as things are at the moment. I didn't get a good night's sleep. For the rest, I went downstairs this morning, dealt with the receptionist, and Russians are quite shy. A host, one of our hosts, told me this. He said, this is one thing that people don't understand, is that because we're not frivolous people and we don't walk around with idiotic smiles on our faces, and because we don't we're earnest and sincere. We'll never say, I'll meet you for coffee sometime and not mean it. Never. He said they mistake our seriousness for grimness. And he said, we're actually not grim people, but we are shy. And he said, you will experience a lot of it. He said, the way that a Russian shows that he's shy is he gets all rigid and tense and he grits his teeth, and you will think that he hates you. He said there is an element of that. There is an element of suspicion of foreigners, and some people will leap to the conclusion that you're a hateful Westerner who is, wishes the downfall of Russia. He said, but most of the time, that kind of stiffness and set jaw is shyness. He said it's the way we do shyness.
Yeah.
And I've realized that that is absolutely true. So I went to the receptionist this morning. I typed out my little thing, and she was looking at me as, what's coming next from this English-speaking whatever potential enemy. I did my little Google Translate thing, and I said to her, do I owe you money? Because yesterday when I checked in, the guy behind the counter said, no, don't worry, no. And Roman was with me. Again, Roman helped me. And he said, the man is saying, don't worry about money, don't worry about anything, just go to your room, check in. So I thought, geez, I wonder what the story is. Maybe my friend in Moscow gave me a little surprise gift by paying for the first night. So this morning I go down. Do I owe you money, or was the room already paid for? And her face just lit up. Just lit up. Huge, big smile. Yes, you do owe money. Please give me your passport. And would you mind if I, this is all through basically gestures and tones of voice. Would you mind, what did she say? Copy, passporta, copy. Пожалуйста, Simon John. And I said to her, no problem, spasiba, or пожалуйста on my part, please. And she said, and she went off and she copied it, and it was just, boom, fantastic. And that's what you experience every half an hour in Russia, Marius. Like a tense kind of thing. Everybody's uptight because they're frustrated that they can't communicate with you and that you can't communicate with them. But after a couple of minutes of rubbing against one another, it's a-okay.
Yeah.
Just nice, down to earth, nice people.
Fantastic. Right, Simon, we are almost out of time. We might do a video later this afternoon, I'm not sure. But yeah, okay. So the second volume of Complaints of Russia, Letters from Russia, is done. And once again, thanks for having the chat. And we'll make a video or two later, maybe on.
Yeah, there's lots and lots and lots to talk about. So if you'd like to do another an interview before our Tuesday afternoon interview, if you would like to throw one in between, we can do that too. Whatever you like, Maurice. I'm very happy to be sharing this knowledge and this information, because it seems to me that there's a genuine something is not right, something is fishy, that they've managed to so successfully convince us in the West of the diametric opposite, the 180 degrees opposite of what Russia is. So it's my great pleasure to chat with you. Thank you very much, Marius.
Hey, pleasure, Simon. Have a nice day.
Same to you. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Bye.